free shaping with my German Shepherd. So what I'm doing is, instead of, telling her to come and all this other stuff, giving her commands, doing the recall that way, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to sit here with my food pouch open, and I'm going to wait for her to come over to me herself, her to make that decision by herself. And when she does, I'm going to mark and reward. It's kind of free shaping, but not quite, because there is one rule in our yard. She is not allowed to put her paws up on the fence. Every time she puts her paws up on the fence, I give her a verbal correction, which is telling the dog off. And if she doesn't listen, I walk over and I grab her and I march her back here, and then I release her. So it's kind of free shaping, but not really, because there's still technically a rule. And the reason why she can't put her paws up on the fence is when she runs up to a fence, when there's a squirrel and stuff. Is she gonna look at me? Nope. And she jumps up on the fence, like not over the fence, but puts her paws up. Our fence is old and she's a powerful dog. If it cracks or breaks, we've just lost our fence, our way of keeping her in the yard. Good girl. See, she walked up to me, looked me in the eyes, so I marked and rewarded. She's going to eventually discover that hanging out with me is a lot funner, or is a little bit more fun, or maybe just as fun, as marching around the yard doing her little patrol where she barks at leaves blowing. She's the kind of dog, if a leaf blows across the yard, it's like Bravo 6 going dark. If I was to recall her, she'd probably come, but that's not what I'm doing. Quick, good girl. Who's a nice girl? Oh yeah, nice girl. Nice girl. Yeah. Oh. I didn't mark it in time, so I couldn't get it. Didn't have the food in my hand. Let's see if she... Okay, I just heard some squirrels, chipmunks / birds. She's probably going to run over to them. The thing about free shaping is you have to be patient. Click, good girl. Who's a nice girl? You can't get frustrated. Because when you get frustrated and you yell at your dog or whatever, that just makes things worse. Your dog, it makes sense, right? If you tell a dog to do something, or they're not doing something right, and you recall them, and you're angry about it, if you're the dog, you're not going to want to come over to someone who's yelling at you or giving you shit, because you think, I'm going to get in shit if I come over. And that's the biggest mistake people do with recall work. Like, a common mistake is the dog doesn't recall on the first try, and they call them over and over again, and eventually the dog comes over, and then they give the dog shit, whatever. The best thing to do when it comes to training your dog's recall, if you recall them and they don't come, you give them a verbal correction, like, hey, click, good girl. Click's not a verbal correction, that's a reward marker. So you're like, hey, and you clap your hands or whatever. And if they still don't come, you march over, you grab them, then you move them over to where you called them from, have them sit, have them down, whatever, and then you let them go. And what I'm personally doing, I'm not doing recall work right now, but when she comes, when called, I actually don't give her food. What I do is I give her a lot of praise, and then I'll release her and reward her with freedom. So if she comes on the first call, I'll reward her with 30 seconds of freedom. And then if she comes after the second call, I'll reward her with 1 minute of freedom. And then on the third, 1 minute and 30 seconds. So I basically keep increasing the amount of freedom she has by 30 seconds. Now, I have no idea if this is actually scientific or if it works or if this is pseudo bullshit, but it seems to work pretty well, even though we're just doing recall work in the backyard. So I'm gonna keep doing it. It works, so whatever. Like, I want her to understand that if she comes, she'll be rewarded with freedom. And I'm basically gearing her up to be let off leash on the farm. It's a big open property, big and open, but the problem is that there's no fence. It's not fenced in. So for her safety, she needs to have a good recall. and that's why I'm doing this. When she starts engaging with me all on her own, I'm gonna start. So just because you mark a behavior that you like doesn't mean you need to reward how cute every time. What you can do is, she marches over and looks at me, I mark, and then she but I don't reward, and then she comes over again, and then I mark and reward that time. So instead of rewarding after the first behavior, I reward after the second desirable behavior. What you're basically doing here is making sure that your dog doesn't learn to just, oh, I'll just listen to him because he has food. You reward it randomly, so the dog learns that they have to perform the behavior, oftentimes repeatedly, to get what they want. And I think that's called intermittent reinforcement or variable reward schedule or something. I can't remember, from my Canadian military working dog handbook. She's not a military dog, but she is definitely a working dog in the sense that she comes from working lines. Click. Good girl. Yeah. Oh. Click. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, I don't have the camera pointing down. Click. Good girl. Yeah. Click. And if this looks boring, it's because it is. Click. Gonna see if I can. Oh, there you go. A nice sit. Let's see if she can look me in the eyes. Click. Good girl. And she's gonna run off to do whatever. So yeah, this is pretty much what I'm doing. I'm sorry if it's not flashy and if it's not interesting, and I probably screwed up on the timing a couple times. Look at her, she didn't even jump up on the fence. Good dog. Good girl. Although that praise was completely pointless because I didn't do it in time. She was thinking about it, but then she decided not to. So yeah, this is what I'm pretty much doing currently with my German Shepherd. I hope you found this video interesting, although it probably was pretty boring. Thanks.